Hello, my friend, and all our friends who are watching us. Dude, I want to talk about people's relationship with masculinity because I have seen this in so many different ways, whether you're a dude and you have a poor relationship with it, or whether you're a woman. And obviously, I'm sure you've encountered that too, women who have bad relationships with the masculine essence, right? Let me actually Google that. Let me Google the definition of that.
Well, it's
Um,
funny. I was just thinking of like how would you define it basically? Like how would you define masculinity? And I would say for if you were to simplify it, it's order and chaos.
love this. Oh my gosh, I love this. Right. Masculinity is associated with the order of yin and yang.
But
But
like
I love this
is there
essence.
actually the good question for you is there actually like when you're thinking about this, when you wanted to when you're thinking about discussing this, were you thinking about any attributes that kind of stood out to you? Or
No,
any
this wasn't a matter of
specific?
attributes, but I do love this, right? An essence is an indispensable quality of something, right? And that's so true. Like to be masculine, even if you're a woman, right? Everybody has this balance of their masculine, feminine inside them, and it's indispensable. You can't get rid of it, right? You can tune into it more, right? Some women who work really hard and don't step into their own feminine essence actually work on their masculine essence subconsciously, but it's indispensable. I love that. What a great little word to describe that. But it's interesting because so many people it affects everybody, right? I've met a lot of people who you can just tell don't have a good relationship to masculinity, right? They resent their fathers, um, they hate men, they are afraid of dating men, right? This is the case of women, right? And I would argue that a poor relationship to the masculine, whether you're a guy or a girl, is what results in being gay most of the time, right? If you're a
Wait,
woman, you have a poor relationship with the masculine, you're inclined to think you're lesbian, right? Because you're attracted to women. Why, right? Maybe because they look like women and act like women, but know how to hold the masculine frame. But because it's not visual, they can still give you the leadership and direction you want, or maybe you can do that and they can give you the opposite. But and if you're a guy, right, you might a lot of guys might think they're gay. I was reading this in a book, right? And that's not to say there aren't gay people, but a lot of guys will think they're actually attracted to men, but really um, they're looking for a connection with the masculinity of their father that they feel they never received, and as a result, they look for that in sexual relations with other men. And so they think it because it shows up in attraction to men, they think it's homosexuality when really it's a father wound. And so that's fascinating.
dude, so I wanted to backtrack a little bit to add to you said from a woman's perspective. There would be like maybe hating men or uh, stuff like that. I was thinking just from a man's perspective, and where I see it is rejecting boundaries, rejecting order. Um,
Well, and that's a poor
and
relationship.
I could actually see that like in personal relationships with other men who um, just seem to reject, like you're talking about, masculinity.
This that's one of the reasons I want to talk about this is because it surfaces in so many ways. And if you have a poor relationship to masculinity, that's a way it could surface too, is you reject what masculinity represents, right? And so you think you're rejecting something negative, but you're also rejecting all the positive things that come with it too, right? And so you see that with a lot of feminized men who, you know, they reject like big corporations and capitalism, for instance, right? But big corporations and capitalism actually represent on a deeper level the motivations of man, because most big corporations are constructed by men. They reject um, the drive of masculinity that takes a person to accomplish something on such a massive level. Like, you know, you can
It's very
rightly
interesting.
say things like Amazon, companies like Amazon are corrupt capitalist companies. And I'm not denying that. But who have you built a company that, creates a revenue of uh, what is it, $125 million a day? No, you haven't. You know why? Because your masculine energy, you haven't allowed it to drive you to that kind of success achieving in any area of your life.
Mm.
Specifically, not in the case of Amazon, a company. So like, you know, luckily for Jeff Bezos, he was able to master that energy and harness it to get him somewhere. Now, I'm not saying he always uses it for good, but clearly he has a somewhat good relationship with masculinity enough to let him drive him there because that's what it is to me. It is a driving force for creation for a lot of things.
No, and I was just talking to someone about this too. When you bring it to like the culture and capitalism, it's like that's masculinity is efficiency and productivity. And
Right.
those are realms where masculinity flourishes being and doing. And and yeah, I honestly I don't know too much where how
And
you were going there.
accomplish.
But yeah, yeah, it's about like that's why these companies have become so big and why people might
Right.
reject them is
Right.
because of those attributes. Like that's why they've become so successful. It's about order, like proper order that has
To a
been
point
able
of
to
almost near
produce
perfection. Right.
produce so much and do it efficiently. Um, like
And people,
obviously you can do that over time, but like you crunch that time and yeah,
that's not even true
that's
either, though. Sometimes you can't do it over time. There's so many companies that never have scaled up successfully, right? Because they don't do the right thing.
well, I'm talking about
And
it's
people
it's
are
it's always
correct.
easier. Like you can it's always it's always easier when you have more time. But like to be able to make that much profit
Man,
in a short amount of time, it's pretty damn incredible, you know?
I mean, Amazon's been around for like 15 years at least, if not 20. So they've had lots of time. But
That's a short time. I'm talking about, well,
no,
let me try to explain
uh,
what I mean.
well, here's one thing though. People are correct in pointing out that dishonesty, manipulation, and other sources of such corruption can be a quick way to the top. That is true, right? To the top. But that being said, you can still reach such a, I guess you could say magnificent level, such an extreme level um, of order and creation through honest means. And so, even if you are looking at something that might not be good per se or wholly authentic, I'm not denying that there could be corruption within Amazon, but to some degree, not all of that company or any of these large, whatever example you want to use, I don't believe they're all built on corruption. I think a lot of times the corruption actually happens later, once you make it to the top. But But that's the thing is when you look at something of such scale, that is masculine power. And it's terrifying, which is one of the reasons so many people have a poor relationship to it, is because they're afraid of it. And they don't want to understand it. They just want to fear it and run from it. And that doesn't really get you anywhere. This subject originally came out to me quite funny. I had just had a conversation with someone who's gay. So I was just kind of in my head thinking about stuff.
Well, actually, I was thinking back to what your comments before on like
Okay.
men's and women's relationships to masculinity and how that can attribute to their sexual desires for the same sex. And I was just thinking, well, wouldn't it be nice to have a homosexual opinion on that who's actually thought about it? I think that would be very interesting. But go for it. What were you talking about? What were you getting at with that?
Yeah, I'd have to choose someone who wouldn't get offended by that,
Well,
but
that's the thing. That
I
I mean,
know a couple people.
that's what I was thinking of.
That's
Someone who
possible.
someone who could think about it. Someone who could like dive deep and say, "Huh, that's interesting." Well, let me really marinate that and think about it and
I think the guy we had
relate
on
it to
in the
my own
past
experience.
could do that, could handle that conversation.
Say that
Um,
again.
I
Who?
think the guy we had on in the past, Matt, could handle that
I think
conversation.
you could too. Yeah.
Fernando might be able to. I know a guy I just met who I think could handle that conversation. Possibly, might take it a little. I don't know. But anyway, so here I was. I want to share this story. It's
I have something else.
kind of requires some
After
vulnerability,
you.
but I don't mind sharing it. Um, yeah, I just had a conversation with a guy that I found out he was gay, right? And like that didn't bother me. Um, but I was thinking about this, right? Because it's just kicking around in my head because I know I'm not gay, right? But he wanted to know if I was gay. And I love how you laugh at that. And and I don't have any doubt that I'm not gay. Like I have absolutely no attraction towards men like that. Like
Uh,
I don't even I don't even want to kiss a dude. Like nope, right? So I don't have a doubt about it. But I've also been like, okay, but people always question that because I'm the kind of person who you can put me in an art museum and I'll look at a picture of a naked dude and be like, wow, look how much detail they put into his dick. Like, so someone would be like, dude, why are you looking at his penis? Right. And that's one of the funny things is actually, I think questions like that are a direct indication of a poor relationship to your own masculinity.
uh,
Right. Because, like, I have no problem being in a lock, I'm ex military. I have no problem being in a locker room with a bunch of naked men with their dicks out, like, yeah, I'm not staring at them. I have no interest in touching them. And the same goes for those guys. Like, I
oh
know they're
man.
straight, but that's like it's also like if you're naked and I see your dick, I don't care. Like that's one of the reasons I think men can have those conversations where they can be like, "Bro, you got a fucking hefty hog." Like I've had those conversations with some of my bros in the past where like they see you changing and they're like, dude, what the heck? Your cock's huge, bro." Something like that. And you're like, these are the conversations men who have a good relationship with their masculinity can have. They know you're not gay. You know they're not gay. Neither of you have any sexual interest in each other, but you can also see each other for what you are and be honest about it. And it's the people who ask questions like, bro, how is it you can stand in the locker room while you're in the military with a bunch of guys who are all naked? And it's like, because I'm not uncomfortable around masculine energy. I don't mind seeing someone else's
All
dick as
right,
long as
here.
it's
I
hanging in
got to
my
interject
face.
in here before you keep going. So this actually made me think of like commenting on that, like that awkwardness about being in a locker room with other men.
Yes, and
Like
that's what
that.
I'm
It's
talking
not
about.
funny. Like what come to mind was like I would also define that as gay. But and this reminds me of the book I read. I think you read it too. It's by Jack Donovan. It's A Way of Men, and he talks about how the term like men would say other men are gay, to not literally. They wouldn't call them gay literally. They
Right, it
would
was
call
just
them
an
gay because
insult.
of their way of being. Like it's and I think it might connect to this like kind of awkwardness. You're uncomfortable around your own
Yes,
body. You're
yeah,
uncomfortable around
yes,
um you know male bodies. It's not this actual sexual desire. Like it's just this
yeah.
discomfort around it.
It's a
And so that's what
discomfort
I thought
around
of.
the
Like
masculine.
because
Yes.
like that's what I would think. Like, there are some, there's some, I guess, um, like just question that comes up with, you know, if you are awkward or you feel discomfort around your own body or those who have bodies like you, you know? And so that's what
Well, and you see that
um,
in relationships too, because if you're with a woman who's super masculine, you'll see men who are uncomfortable around that because they're uncomfortable around masculine energy in general. And thus, they're uncomfortable around a woman when she portrays masculine energy by being the boss or the leader or the one taking charge. So you can see that even in a female male dynamic. But, I just find it funny because I have no problem going somewhere and just like a locker room, the gym. Like I've gone to what's the big fitness place? I got to stop bouncing this table. Um, the purple one,
Planet Fitness, dude.
Planet Fitness. Yes, they have a big locker room,
Uh,
right? And I'll just get naked there when I'm changing. Like I don't care if I'm gonna take a shower. I'll walk out of the shower butt naked. And
that's the
some
gym that
people,
has no weights, right? They have no
they
actual
their
weight.
weights don't
It's
don't
a pulling
exceed
machine.
75 pounds. But
Whatever. We're
but
I'll
that's a
trash talk them later.
yeah. You could trash talk, yeah. But anyway, scenarios like that where like I don't have a problem getting naked in front of other dudes. Like, and it's not out of homosexuality. It's because I just don't care. It's like, and if another guy comes out of the shower naked, it's like, yeah, whatever. Like I'm not looking. They're not looking at me, or they can. I don't care. Like I'm putting clothes on. But where a lot of people would commonly, this was the thought I was
You don't
having with
care, dude. I would
myself that
care
I
if
found
someone's looking at me.
fascinating, where a lot of
They're
people would
staring at me.
yeah, where a
Yeah.
lot of people would,
There's
yeah,
a
be
difference.
very
I know there's a
self-conscious,
difference.
very self-conscious. And I'm like, dude, it's not a big deal. Just
Hmm.
change. Like you're changing. Nobody cares. Everybody knows, what a guy looks like naked. Like whether you trimmed your hedges, whether you have a small baseball bat or not, like it doesn't matter. Like just get changed. So that was one of the interesting thoughts I was having because I was like, wow, that indicates a poor relationship to masculinity too. And I
That's
don't think
interesting.
people
And
realize that, but I
everybody see
think that's a
differently, I guess.
huge tell, a huge
Yeah.
tell.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, not to say you can't ask for respect, not to say you can't be like, hey, I'm going to get changed. Look away for a minute. Like, that's
Mhm.
not the same thing. But to refuse to like be in a gym locker room getting changed because there's other people there is just a matter of super extreme self consciousness and probably poor relationship to masculine
Mhm.
essence. Um, and so those were kind of the bigger points I want to make.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit actually. So back to the gay thing. So this guy I used to work with, uh he he was he was a gay dude, but he was like he wanted to like touch upon like both masculine and feminine.
Uh
And I
huh.
thought that was kind of interesting because he was really like concerned about what he was wearing and stuff like that. Not in a bad way, just like he wanted to wear things that express both masculine and feminine. And I thought that was interesting that he actually
Hmm.
thought about that. You know what I'm saying? Because like,
That is
I mean,
interesting. I don't think
I
it's
don't know, I wouldn't really
necessary,
care, right? Like,
but
so
I
what?
think that is a good practice of leaning into that. Like if you're not sure how to do that, that's a good practice of leaning into it. I know a lot of, like, I would say I've definitely embraced the feminine energy inside of me because I do appreciate beauty. I appreciate art. I appreciate a lot of things that are associated with feminine energy. But like if you're having a hard time figuring out if you're in touch with that stuff, I think expression like that is a good way to kind of challenge yourself and lean into it. But
I
ultimately, I
wouldn't
don't think
even
it
say in
matters.
touch. Like, I don't know. Like, I want to go out and seek it. It's just the biggest thing would just be,
Well,
do you
not
feel
seeking it,
right? Do you feel well when you say in touch? That's kind of what comes to mind. But
but you
um,
don't have to seek it if you already experience it and allow it to be in you, then you're already in touch.
experience it in a way that's not repelling. That's not. I mean, that's what I would question if you feel repelled by something, you know, and yeah,
Right.
and it
Which is what you see a lot
is
of.
it something that's more masculine and feminine? Does that relate to how your relationship with masculinity and femininity in your own life? I mean, that's the things I would think of, you know.
What is.
Well, that's what like I would be more keen to notice what I'm like naturally repelling against,
Yeah, but
and then reflect.
you
You
might
know,
not know that. Um, I mean, it's kind of hard to notice that. And that's where I would say something like paying attention to what you dress, how you dress might help you figure out if you are repelling one of those energies.
So are
Um,
you able to wear a dress or not?
that's not quite what I'm saying. But
I know
if you're
you're
able to
not.
be
Oh
colorful and
man.
vibrant, um, and a little more like women kind of dress to be beautiful, like and men usually dress for purpose. Well, I guess women dressing for beautiful is a purpose, but well, I'm not really sure how to describe that. At any rate, what I've seen a lot of, and I'm sure you might have too, is a lot of women who have poor relationships to femininity, and a lot of that lies in their child wounds with
Femininity or masculinity?
masculinity. A lot of women who have a bad relationship to masculinity, and you see that surface through
Hmm.
fear of big corporations, fear of Donald Trump is a great example, fear of
Dude, I
tyranny,
see that in, you know, it's funny. I see that in men.
refusal to
I
listen.
see that. I don't see that in, I mean, sure, I might see that in women, but like, I
You
see
don't hang
that
around
in men,
enough
and
women.
it's, what?
You don't hang around with enough women, I guess. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but it doesn't, I guess it doesn't like, it doesn't play an effect as much. I, like, I don't know. I have different
Well, I
expectations,
think
I
I
guess,
hear
for,
it more than I think I hear it more than I see it, right? So
like I'll
like
probably
women will
hear
be
it,
like,
right. I'll probably hear it more from women, but like when I see a men against those things, um, then I notice it more. Like it
what
makes me question it more, you know?
here's tells for me. I've heard a lot of women say stuff like men can't be trusted. Um, I hate dating because there's no good men out there. He's just like my father. Um, Stuff like that, right? And that says I have a bad relationship to masculinity. Like, in my opinion, those expressions say I don't understand what it means to be masculine, and so I don't know how to relate to it, and I'm actually quite afraid of it. Because like you could say those things about anybody, to be honest. Like men
Say
can't be
those
trusted.
things on a
Like
given day
nobody can
too,
be,
you know?
huh?
So I mean sometimes you can say those things on a given day. Like
Well,
for
right,
example,
exactly. That's my point. Is nobody can be
for
trusted.
example
We're
with women, I
human.
think this is why I
We're
notice
all
men
human.
is because women will change their mind. I'll see women more often change their mind. That's why.
Well,
That
of
is why.
course, that's a state of feeling, but like um in general, it's like to experience a feeling like I can't trust people is normal. I think everybody experiences that. And I think everybody to some degree can't be trusted sometimes. Like people are just human. They're gonna be prone to error. But it's when I hear stuff like that from women that I am able to have some empathy, to be honest, and realize they probably have a poor belief around men because of a poor relationship to masculine energy. Um, and I mean, in general, I think America as a whole right now has a poor relationship to masculine energy because they've been misinformed between the feminist movement and men not doing a very good job of showing what good masculine energy looks like and teaching what good masculine energy is. In general, I think we're not in a great place for that. But the healing starts today. So,
Hmm. Hmm, hmm, hmm.
but it struck me as an interesting subject because there's so many tells, and I see them all the time, and I kind of sit there and I go, oh, I think I think that's another indication. I think that's another. It looks like another. So I just kind of take notes to myself, and that's where this topic came up because there's a
Mhm.
lot of people who don't
Yeah,
have
dude.
good
No, no,
relationships
it's
with
a
it.
you bring up a great freaking topic to talk about. I
But
think
that
so.
being said, the question then becomes, how do you have a good relationship to it? Especially if you're coming from a place of not having had a good relationship with it and being afraid of it. And I really think that does start with trusting yourself, like trusting yourself to make good decisions, but also trusting yourself to make bad decisions and be okay. I feel like we really had a good conversation about that when we talked with Noel. and what she had like learned with her own life experience. But learning to trust yourself is a big deal. It's going to make it easier for you to trust other people, but you kind of just have to take a leap of faith in a lot of this stuff, especially if you're a woman, and just have faith that it's going to be okay, and that if it's not, you're going to be able to handle yourself. And people haven't been taught that either, so that doesn't help when you run into these issues. People.
Dude, I think about it. I think about it a different way. Like honestly, I wouldn't say, I wouldn't say a leap of faith. Take a leap of faith. I'd honestly say like,
I'm not saying take a leap of faith. I'm just saying have faith in yourself and in where you are at this moment of time.
Mhm.
Like,
well, how does that relate to your relationship with masculinity? Is
because I think
having faith in yourself.
everyone is going to clash with the opposite sex to some degree. It's like men can't ever completely understand women, and women can't ever completely understand men. And that being said, when you run into a scenario where you're like, I can't trust men, men are cheaters, all men are liars, men don't care about women, yada, 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 that's where you have to kind of take a deep breath and say, I I have faith that I'm meant to be here. I have faith that this person's in my life for a reason, even though there's someone of the
Yeah.
opposite sex who I have a bad relationship to
Oh,
the opposite
perfect.
sex.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Kind of where I was going because um that's it's basically not like seeking a persecutor, not seeking a villain. Because like
Of
I
course
think
not. No. Well, that'll never serve
that's
you.
kind of what sort of happens, especially like you have to find something to blame sometimes. And so like masculinity is
Looks like
blamed. And so like what I was thinking is you just like to work on your relationship with masculinity. It's just a matter of judgment. Like you just next time it comes, instead of rejecting it or casting judgment on it, you don't like you don't seek to villainize something or
right.
deem it bad and just altering that perspective.
Well, and doing that allows you to have faith, like because you don't know
Yeah, you have
where
to trust that
the
it's gonna be
relationship
okay.
is going
Right.
to go.
Right.
Like, but if you can erase the judgment and you can stop looking at the past, then you're able to have that much more energy and moving towards trusting in someone, having
Right.
faith, and all those other things.
I'd say
Like,
that's
the
yeah.
drama triangles are very real, but look at Batman. Like, he's an archetype for a reason. He doesn't go and create villains; they exist, and he allows them to exist. And if they shouldn't exist, he removes them, right? And so that's why superheroes exist, because they provide a good example for us. You can allow yourself, you can allow these things to exist. You can remove the judgment and do the work that's necessary in relationship to that which you would have judged. Um, you can have faith. You can have trust in yourself. You can stop judging your own standards. You know, that's what you see in the life of someone like Batman, or in the life of any of your favorite superheroes.
Hmm.
They
Anyways, the
don't
trust
judge.
yourself. I mean, the trust yourself is vital to everything because it's like, in order for you
Right.
to gain new perspective, right, you have to step outside the boundaries. And
And that
a
is
part of you
living in
has to
faith.
be like, you'll be okay, you'll be fine. Because if you don't think that, if you think, well, I'm gonna get in trouble if I even start to think about something a different way, then you can't like grow because you're just, I mean, you can't. It's not really trust yourself, trust your own experience, and that you know you'll figure it out if something bad does happen. You know,
Right. But that
it
works hand in hand with all of it. Like, in doing that, you are exemplifying faith. In doing that, you are removing judgment, at least to some degree, if not completely. So it's like you can't really do any of these things without doing all the others. So, like, and all of them are good things to do. Whether you want to decide to trust someone and give them the benefit of the doubt, whether you want to decide to remove your judgment, whether you want to decide to take a step in faith, you're kind of actually practicing all of these things. but it is kind of the way forward, you know, and removing the drama triangle, like you said, is important, but most people don't know what that is. They don't understand how they relate to it. They don't realize how often they create that. And so that's an example that while it's very helpful, it has to be something you are knowledgeable in. Whereas trusting, having faith, and just taking a breather from judging is something that people at least are kind of familiar with, even if they're not well practiced in it.
Yeah, I think it can be understood.
But you know, at any rate, I think people's relationship to both essences, but I'm you know we're specifically talking about masculinity. Um, I think it shows up if you're looking, and you know even if you're not looking, it's still showing up. Um, you know, I know many people I've conversed to the point where they would render it an argument, um, where I'm like, no, I really do think you have some poor beliefs around masculinity. You know, and it's like I don't say that to crucify someone. I say that because that limits you in your life potential because you need both essences to go through life. You need to understand and have good relationships with both a feminine and a masculine essence, both in yourself and outside of yourself.
Mhm.
And honestly, I feel like that is a great place to stop.
Yeah, we'll stop right there. It's a good one. But it just makes me think of how I do think of it differently. I definitely do. Um, and it's just I I guess I don't think of it like I don't connect it to masculinity. I just connect it with order, you know, and what makes sense and what's efficient and what's productive. And so I worked in, you know, some of my jobs where it's like, and I've told you some of this stuff where, we do things that don't make sense. And so, I mean, I can relate that to masculinity because masculinity is order, efficiency, productivity, and it's none of those.
Right.
So,
Clearly,
and so,
there's
I mean,
a
that's
lot
what
of
crosses my
feminine
head. It's like,
energy
yeah,
in
it's
that
like,
area,
yeah,
in
it's
that
like this stuff
dynamic.
is just play. It's not really making sense or anything. So, you
Right.
know, I kind of see the disconnect, but I make a different association with it. But anyways,
No, I think that's true. And everybody is going to look at this subject and they're going to understand it from a different viewpoint, right? This is just how I know how to describe it. But yeah, whether it's like that or like what I said or like what someone else sees it as, it doesn't matter. It's the same. You're talking about the same thing, but your relationship to it is what matters. And a bad relationship to it harms you. And no relationship to it isn't possible. That's got to be that's a favorite like thing to I don't want to say ridicule, but like
hmm.
pick on someone for to think you can have no
Cool.
relationship to masculine energy is a joke. Like if you know anything about anything, it doesn't work like that.
Well,
Everything in life is
right.
ordered by chaos and order. You
The
can't just
thing,
not be associated with order. It doesn't happen.
right. I mean, to live your life, like there has to be some, I guess, order in order for you to stretch yourself.
Well, even if you think
Order.
there doesn't, you're already wrong because there is some order in your life somewhere. You know, whether you drive to work following the lines on the road, you're actually relating to a masculine energy in some way. Like it's not possible to live without it. So, but
Yeah. It's
that's a rabbit hole.
well the thing, yeah, I know. The thing when you
You just
say
can't live without it.
masculinity, it's like the cool thing, it's like broad, which might be confusing when communicating with other people. But but yeah, dude, I don't think you have to like it, of course.
No,
But your relationship with it,
dude, I don't like some
you
things
can you
about
can
feminine energy.
you can have an indifferent relationship with it, I think. If you're not judgmental about it, you can be indifferent. Like it doesn't have to be either or.
Well, and I think you can learn to like it. I think you can live with it and learn to like it. And that just looks like accepting it for what it is. That just looks like not fighting it and letting it be. And in doing so, I think you actually will come to like it. You know, like, you know, it's not your favorite, but you certainly aren't condemning it to hell. Like, and I think there is a difference, right? You're removing the judgment, you're allowing it to be what it is, And in doing so, you'll actually find you probably have more room in your heart for it than you realized. But you can't avoid it. It's there. Like some people hate mixing all sorts of laundry together in the laundry machine, colors and whites. But you know what? You can exist while your partner does that, right? Like you can definitely learn to exist happily in the presence of something you think you can't relate to.
All right, done.
No, keep going. Just kidding. Yeah,
I did.
dude,
That's it.
good talk, bro.
Tell everybody to subscribe because we need subscribers now.
You're doing it right now. You tell them this isn't my job. I'm not going to tell you how to help yourself.
Perfect, dude.
That's an
All
inside
right,
joke.
it is. Plain me.